Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the September 23rd school board meeting. Almost over.
All right,
All right, so let's call the meeting to order.
Bert,
Linda,
Linda,
here.
Russ,
Russman, very here.
and
And
Jenna
Jenna Darling's here.
Can we all please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Are there any adjustments to the agenda from you, Brendan?
The only other thing, do you need your thing added, Ed? Or is that just a signatory, the DOE 25 revised?
DOE 25, it's just to have them sign it. They don't need to do that at a meeting.
At a
They just
meeting, they
need to
can do it
sign
after.
it.
Okay, so no, I don't believe so.
Okay. Any adjustments from the board?
No.
Okay. The only thing I have is a correction. We have listed under policy EEAB, and I believe it's supposed to be EHAB.
Yes, that is correct.
All right. So we will move on to minutes. I have the public minutes of August 26th.
Motion to approve?
Is there a second?
I wasn't here, but you can second it.
Okay.
I will second for discussion.
Okay. Discussion? Go ahead.
Page 2, the information/actions. Second line down. The words "sign" after the changes were made. Either I misspoke or someone misheard. I have no intentions of signing the ethics policy under any circumstances until we are done and I actually have the free right to speak.
Regardless of what's in.
Is your motion to drop that, to cut that line from it?
You can make that your own decision.
Is there anything else other than that line?
No.
Okay.
Then, yeah, I motion that we cut, if you didn't say it, I'm good with that. I motion that we remove that from the minutes.
Okay.
And, yeah, I need a second.
And I will second that. Maura, did you get that? Thank you. Okay. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Linda abstains? Okay, thank you. That brings us to the public minutes of September 9th.
Although,
Go ahead. I know.
sorry, I was going to say, I think we just approved the change. Didn't that change? We didn't approve the minutes.
I apologize.
So,
Maura, I apologize. We approved the change, we didn't approve the minutes. So can I have a
motion to approve the minutes.
motion to approve the minutes as amended? Second? I will second them. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstained?
Abstain.
Okay. All right. September 9th minutes.
I moved to just table it. I haven't had a chance to really look at it yet.
Okay. Is there a second to table the minutes?
Second.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Opposed? Abstained? All I will say, Maura, on the September 9th minutes is our copy says August 26th on the top of it.
Already
Oh, never mind then.
Online.
Online, okay. So my copy still has it. No problem.
Yeah,
Thank
I'd
you.
already printed them.
Okay, so those are tabled. We'll make sure we have the draft ones publicly available, please. Okay, that brings us to public comment. Looks like we have 4 people for public comment. Mr. Spalding, you're up first.
It's 5 minutes.
3 minutes. Not board communication?
Excuse me?
Did you want to do this during public comment with the 3 minutes as opposed to board communication?
Because I really don't have a First Amendment right with this board. You allowed interruption the last time I tried to speak. You will not close down the people who are interrupting. That is your job, to allow a speaker to speak uninterrupted. And so until I have my First Amendment right, I will use any avenue possible, even though a court case has said I can't do this. But I have a right to speak. And so if you take or prohibit that right, then I have this one to rely on. And that is what I'm doing tonight.
Mr. Spalding,
I will be
you have
very
3
short.
minutes. You have 3 minutes.
Okay? I would like to make some points. Number 1, to Russell Medbury. Robert's Rules of Procedure do not overrule the U.S. Constitution. And Rhonda has lied now 4 times. Documentation is available to anybody who wants it to prove the point. And her distortion of the court case was about the right to know communication, not whether she was telling the truth or not. So it is not a shield, it is a distortion. That's it for me. Jenna, I already mentioned your responsibilities of allowing a speaker to speak freely without any other interruption.
I would just ask that
Please
you
let the minutes-
clarify with an attorney about that, because it's not right.
Just a second. Laura, please let the minutes show that Mr. Spalding left at 5:08. Mr. Spalding did mention the case where he was told he should not public comment, he should do it in board communication. I will follow up on that. Okay, we're going to move on. Mrs. Frigno.
Lisa Frigno, first grade teacher, union co-president, and Newport taxpayer. Before school began, the board voted on the school reopening plan, in which masks were not required unless there are 3 or more cases in the school. This decision was made after listening to 3 vocal community members who shared misinformation and made threatening comments. I did not speak up at that time because I was worried it would escalate the antagonistic tone of the meeting. I regret that. What I should have said then, and I am saying this now, your decision, while well-intentioned, was short-sighted. We do need to be concerned about the numbers at Woodlawn and Sullivan County because some of our students' parents work there, doing a heroic job while being exposed to COVID-19 virus. We do need to be worried about the numbers in Sullivan County because our families do not, nor should they, stay in a bubble in Newport. Some of the parents in our district work in Claremont. Some of our students live in Goshen and Croydon. Some of our staff members live in Leominster or Grantham. So the positive COVID numbers in Sullivan County matters. Amongst all of the protocols that were in place last year, most of them are gone. We are no longer screening staff and students. We are not spacing in all situations. The plexiglass has come down, all on the recommendation of the State Board of Education. Hand sanitizer stations have been removed. The rigorous cleaning schedule has been rolled back. And most concerning of all, we started the year without requiring masks. We now, on day 13 of all of our students being in school together, have 39 active cases in the school, and several more waiting results. Let me say that again. In 13 days, we have 39 active cases. That is more than we had last year. To say I am worried about our students and staff does not begin to express my level of concern. We have staff members who cannot be vaccinated. We have staff members who are immunocompromised. We have students who are not old enough to be vaccinated. We have students who have asthma or other underlying conditions. We must do everything in our power to keep them safe. That is our responsibility.
Ms. Mitchler.
Good evening. My name is Melissa Mitchler, NTA co-president. I too am concerned about the cases in our buildings. As Lisa said, we have surpassed the total number of cases we had in 185 days of school last year, in just 13 days. That is concerning regardless of your view of COVID. Fortunately, I do not believe anyone has been hospitalized from these cases. However, I would like to speak about the impact this is having on education. The amount of absences, both student and staff, have been astronomical. Perhaps Dr. Minahan can give a more accurate attendance rate and compare it to last year's attendance. I don't have that information. Every day that a student is absent, they lose out on valuable education. Education that cannot be replicated. Labs cannot be replicated. Classrooms discussions cannot be replicated. Education that cannot be uploaded to Google Classroom or sent home. This is the direction of our district chose to take when we moved to competency education. I would also like to speak on the impact of staff absences. Our subpool is not very deep, and education is suffering. I would be curious to find out how many days we have had enough subs to even cover 50% of staff absences. It is extremely difficult to keep students 3 feet apart at all times. We do our best in the classroom. However, they do not stay 3 feet apart in the halls or in the cafeterias. We had a difficult time last year keeping them 6 feet apart, but the masks were a second layer of protection when they weren't social distancing. We lost that layer this year. In closing, I have 2 requests. First, I would ask that the district send weekly emails to families and staff reporting out on active cases and total cases for the year. This aligns with the board's goal of clear and effective communication. Many districts in the surrounding areas are doing just this. Second, I ask that the board reconsider their adopted mask policy that disregards community transmission. We have averaged 3 new cases a day. At this rate, we will have 555 cases in this school year. That is an increase of 1,500%, 15 times the amount from last year. If 39 cases in 13 school days isn't data to show that masks add a layer of protection, I don't know what is. Thank you.
And Mrs. Rothbart.
Hello, Jessica Rothbart. I am a parent to multiple children in the school. And just to say it this way, I came as a parent only. Sorry to get emotional, but this is how my kids are every day because they're afraid to go to school because their friend won't wear their mask and their teacher wouldn't tell them to wear their mask. And now I've already had to get one of my children tested, which traumatized them so much that I couldn't even get them to go to school the next day. So I just came to voice that something needs to change. I hate to see all of these kids getting sick, and never mind the parents. Like, and the staff, like, you guys are important to us. So that's what I had to say. Sorry.
Okay. No one else is online?
No.
All right. Thank you. Thank you all. Bring public comment to a close. Okay, let's go to information and action. The first one is acts of vandalism. This is one that I wanted put on the agenda. I'll let Brendan start, and I will try to keep my cool over here.
Well, and Shannon and Jennifer and Tom can certainly jump in if they have additional information. On my part of it, it's kind of a plea to our families and our students. So there is a viral TikTok challenge, because we live in this current age, that seems to be into destruction of public spaces. And some of our students, I don't know that for sure, but I'm thinking it's students and not staff, for example, are doing things typically like destroying our sanitization pumps or our soap dispensers in the bathrooms. And that's certainly disruptive, and, given the shortages of supplies, probably not great in that regard either. But we had one of our bathrooms that the taxpayers and the townspeople in the state, because some of it's that state money, spent thousands of dollars renovating, and we had one of those bathrooms destroyed to such an extent that they broke piping, that they tried to remove a toilet. I've seen pictures of the possible items used to do that, which include a brick and like a metal pole and such. And that is just not right. That's not Tiger Pride. That's not respect, ownership, all of those things that we espouse as a community, both school and town-wide. And so we have two hopes, I guess I would say. One is that we find out all the perpetrators of this, and that appropriate restitution is made. And then the second is that it ceases, because we're only hurting ourselves, right? We're only hurting your fellow classmates. We're only hurting the reputation of the school, and we're hurting the kids and the staff, because now we have to spend our time, even though I agree with what Melissa and Lisa said about subs and staffing, dedicating valuable staff time to check the bathroom because we cannot behave ourselves appropriately. So that's my take on what's gone on. I believe there's been 3 bathrooms.
That
Not
have-
totally been destroyed, but 3 have at least had the sanitizer and the soap.
Yeah, it's more than 3.
Is it more
There's
than
been
3?
3 that in the high school I have locked the doors to. 2 of those bathrooms don't have a door, so that it's a plywood covering. As you just heard, one of them was so badly damaged we had to shut the water off to that bathroom until we can get a plumber in, and we have had to order a new toilet. What kids might not, I'm sure they wouldn't realize, is when you damage a toilet, there's a large portion of it that it's casted as one piece. So when you shift it and you crack it, the entire thing is essentially no good. There's definitely the soap dispensers and the sanitizers. I know we're at over 12 devices that have been damaged or stolen. What's happening is they steal the inside of them. So they're trying to pop them open and they take the insides out, which is actually, it adds up. So we're only in week 4? And it's just repeated. So, we're at probably a total of around just shy of $100, I believe, per, because they're the automated soap dispensers. So if they damage the dispenser and they've been stabbing the soap inside,
The soap alone is $35.
the soap alone is $35. So, and that soap normally lasts us quite a while.
We lost 3 in one day in CT. 3 in one day, okay. So it's just reached a point where it's absolutely not necessary, it's unacceptable. I'm positive it is a handful, very few compared to the majority, I would like to say that. I think that if you spoke to any of the students here, they would tell you just how appalled most of them are. Annoyed too, because every time a bathroom gets shut down so we can clean up the mess that's been made, repair the damage that's been done, you know, that's just another hallway they have to go down to use another restroom. So I would only add that the TikTok trend has included not just damage to school property, but theft. So we're very concerned about that. There have been concerns about theft as well. And I guess the last thing I would say related to bathrooms is, despite what some students might have reported, we have 23 total restrooms in this facility, which is more than I even realized. They range in size from single stall to 3 toilets per restroom, but 23 total. At any given time, I've had 2 shut down. Okay, but in one day I tried to open one bathroom, and as soon as that got opened, another one was damaged. So this is a real issue. It's taking a lot of time out of a school day. It's very disruptive. And quite frankly, it's not fair to be a kid using the bathroom completely innocently and have an adult standing there going, "Are you really using the bathroom?" You know, like, that is just not what I want to be doing with kids. It's not conversations kids want to be having with me. And we all would like this to stop. So yes, a plea home to please help us with this. Just talking to the kids, this is adding up financially and time-wise in ways I don't have the full dollar value, but thousands easily.
So in the middle school, we have not had it as bad, but we have had 2 bathrooms. One bathroom, it was the soap dispenser. They took the soap out and put it in the trash. So we were able to take it back, put everything back together, that was fine. But unfortunately, yesterday we did have paper towel dispenser that was destroyed, that had to be replaced. So it is time and money, you know, with regard to looking at videotapes, trying to figure out who's in there and talking to people and doing that. So I agree that, you know, I had sent out an email to staff saying, please be aware with regard to, you know, the TikTok that's out there. It's been on WMUR TV as well. You know, please be aware, especially with items in your classroom, that things may, you know, come up missing, but we have to be diligent about accounting for things and watching for it.
Have we identified anybody who's done this? I'm trying not to lose my ever-loving mind over here, to put it mildly. I have zero tolerance for this kind of disrespect to the people that come here every day, especially the facilities and maintenance staff who are here to serve our students and the rest of the staff. The complete and utter lack of disrespect for such a stupid thing is mind-blowing to me. And how am I, as a board member who's going into budget season, supposed to go to the taxpayers and say, please, let's do X, Y, and Z to support our kids, because they're great kids, and they are great kids. But you're wasting people's time and money, and I don't think I can speak without using any more language than that. So if there's anybody else that would like to say something,
I would love to say something.
go for it.
So I think there are a couple ways to look at it. One is just the followership of those individuals that decide that TikTok is more important than their mind. You know, that irks me that we're in a place of education and students have decided that some social media person or app is more important than their own thinking about their own place. I mean, that's, you know, you're vandalizing your own home basically, and that's just silly. So, you know, I wonder what's going on there with the students. It also makes me think, and I think this is what Jenna was getting at, about how self-entitled those individuals must feel that there is a disrespect to the place that they are I mean, they spend more time here in school than they do in most other places, you know, for that to be a thing. And I think about my son and you know, and talking about now there is no bathroom because it's too far away from classes. So, you know, so it is kind of this overall thing that just doesn't make sense. And then Jenna's point about the budget season, you know, basically the students responsible are stealing money from the community. And that's really horrid when we talk about kind of the needs and needing roofs and needing infrastructure that allows for just basic needs. That's, you know, and I get that as I'm assuming that they're somewhere between the ages of 14 and 18, that there's some cognitive development issues about thinking into the future. However,
I don't care. Sorry, I don't care.
but they need to learn, and this is a good place to learn it.
Okay.
So, you know, so I'm looking forward to having this resolved and having the individuals who are kind of responsible. But I do think there's some, this is an opportunity to address the kind of TikTok thinking, that idea that someone else can tell me what to do, and I'm an independent thinker, yet I'm following this TikTok thing like sheep. And that's kind of this kind of, it just is a disconnect to be, I'm independent, look, I'm taking stuff, but at the same time, I'm following a mass movement of other people. It just doesn't make sense to me. And so maybe it's an opportunity to at least talk about that type of social media influence.
Thanks, Russ. Linda?
They're a lot nicer than I am about this. I think that we have plenty of cameras in the building to be able to identify who these people are. I think that I do understand it's the administration's duty to do discipline with this. However, as a board member, I would think that regardless of TikTok or whatnot, this is a press charge, relatable crime, and they can have the charges pressed against them. I know what happens to them after that. They'll probably end up with a probation officer of some kind. I think that the families should be responsible for paying restitution for these errors of their children. That is strictly my opinion. It's not the board's opinion. But I think that unless you actually do something that is meaningful, especially with these new laws that are out there, and I know I've talked to some of the people out there about the new expulsion laws and suspensions that are ridiculous. I think you need to do something more, because if you can only be allowed to suspend for 10 days, it's not enough. If it's their first charge, they won't get a terrible, terrible sentence, but it will be something on their sentence, so if it happens again, it will be clearly not a slap on the wrist again. That's my personal opinion. I would like to see the administration consider holding these people accountable.
Rhonda?
Yeah, sorry, I'm extremely nauseous today. I'm having a hard time. But I agree with Linda, actually. That was going to be my question. I need to figure out how to put the stupid little hand down here.
It'll go away.
That was actually going to be my question. Are we able to prosecute them? This is vandalism, simply. I don't care if it's on TikTok. I don't care if your grandmother told you to do it. It's vandalism. And there are charges that go with that, and monetary fines and fees. And if we can't do that, then we don't have any teeth to stand on. I mean, everything else is already taken away. You can't do this through expulsion. You can't do this through. But this is just plain vandalism. If they ran around the outside of the building and spray painted the whole outside of the building on a weekend, and it was somebody other than students, it would be vandalism. Students inside the building doing the same thing, that's vandalism, and there are charges for that.
We're about to dedicate new improvements to our fields. We're talking about a CTE center renovation, and this happens to either of those places, I just might lose it. Go ahead.
I do think it's important, though, to say that the administration at the high school has been reviewing tape, has made some findings, I guess I would say, but not all findings. They're still working on it. And then there are various vandalism crimes that have taken place, right? So the destroying of a soap dispenser is vandalism, and certainly will have some type of repercussion for that. However, it's slightly different than destroying an entire bathroom, forcing the shutoff of the water supply. And certainly pressing charges is one of the tools that we have available to us to go forward with. And I think oftentimes, not that I've had charges pressed against me recently or anything, but the cost of the damage, I think, comes into play in terms of how seriously the charges are. So we are still investigating. We are still working through it. I believe it was Melissa who put me on the spot about absences. We have had a lot of students absent, which may have slowed down some of the investigating. I'm not positive. But I believe I talk to Shannon every other day going like, where are we with this?
Regularly.
And this is just not going correct.
No.
And if I could add, we've had students here this summer who have worked on this building. The vast majority truly they're here with great intention. And quite frankly, I count on them because they come forward because this is their school. This is, where they want to be, and they appreciate what's been done to bring this building up to snuff, if you will, to make it as nice and pleasant as it's been. And so for them, this is very frustrating. And I just want you to know that I would say that is the vast majority of the building.
They have signs up, don't they?
In one case, we have a bathroom where students have put signs up about, that this is just unacceptable. This is our place. Don't destroy this, property. Let's be better than that. Don't follow a TikTok trend. Or whatever the motivation may be, whether it's TikTok or not. I think sometimes young adults make poor decisions, and we are often here to catch them when they make those poor decisions. I tell them this is kind of the last safety net before you go out into adulthood in the high school, so let's figure it out now. But I think if we can all wrap around and have a conversation with our kids from the various perspectives, school and home, that's going to probably be the most effective thing to really nip this in the bud, because it's clearly become a thing.
I just want to also just reiterate, this is not just here, it's everywhere.
Yes.
You turn on the news, Good Morning America, and Today, any of those programs, they're talking about it. But in all essence and fairness, even with our local New Hampshire station, there are plenty of districts that are heading this with a heavy hand. And I think we should do as well, even if we need to do some kind of legal around it. But I think that these kids should be held to the highest parts of the law with this. I agree to that. Only my opinion, but I think that if a kid that's deterred, and I understand what Shannon's saying about this is the last chance before they get out to the real world, but I think sometimes some of these kids just need that scare to straighten them out.
And I agree that I don't think I've met a Newport kid that isn't a good kid. But this is a big deal, and this needs to stop. That said, unless anybody has anything else, I will move on from this.
Can we just have another report about this
Yeah.
at the next
Yeah.
meeting?
Yeah, sure.
Like the items, itemized,
Yeah.
how it's going, investigation?
How much the cost has been. that type
Yep.
of thing.
I have estimates for the items, but I
Yeah.
think it's the time. I don't have a
Yeah,
concept
no.
of that, but I
Yeah,
can
we
give you
can-
materials.
And we can probably
Just
get a
what's,
sense.
just what's been vandalized and how many bathrooms, and if we have an idea of how many children you are looking at?
I have spoken to dozens, easily dozens of kids. And we do have cameras that can show people coming in and coming out, but we don't, nor would I want cameras pointing in a bathroom
It's
directly.
illegal, so no.
There's that.
Yeah.
But I will point it out that we have, like I said, kids who are doing the right thing, just trying to use a restroom, and then we have other kids not doing the right thing. So it's not as clear cut as you would hope, and we count and appreciate our kids helping us with this stuff.
It's a lot of watching and a lot of talking, because in between there, you're gonna find the truth.
Yep. And I spend a lot of time in bathrooms, or near bathrooms, unfortunately, so
It's part of your job. Isn't it?
part of my job, I guess, now, so.
Not part-time.
No, it's more full-time lately, but.
All right, thank you. All right, let's spend some time talking about COVID.
Let's talk about COVID. All right, so we'll talk about a couple of different aspects, if I can start. I don't know if, and I think it was you, Melissa, but it may have been Lisa, where the numbers you came from. The numbers I'm using are from our COVID team meeting yesterday, which has Cassie and Sue Strebel as part of it. But as of yesterday, at the middle high school, so from the 7th of September through yesterday, there have been 88 COVID tests conducted. They're awaiting the results of 26 of those. There, at the middle school, there are 4 adults who have tested positive, 11 students who have tested positive, and one of the students who has tested positive has returned. And then at the high school, there are 3 adults who have tested positive and 4 students. There are 9 folks, and I don't know if this is students or staff at the middle high school, who are unvaccinated and they're in quarantine. Okay, let's see here. And then there are 4 families who are choosing not to test their kids. So what happens is, they may have symptoms. We ask them to go and get tested. The parent can say, no, they're not going to get tested, in which case we just say you have to stay out for 10 days. At Richards, as of yesterday, there were 6 kids out awaiting test results. 8 kids were COVID positive. 2 adults were COVID positive, and 1 preschool student was COVID positive. And then there were 21 negative test results that came back. So the kids had something else or weren't feeling well, but you never know. Let's see here. The other thing I think that's important I guess there's 2 other parts I want to mention, if I may, is that there's really 2 things that I've been getting a lot of emails about. One is, well, why don't we go remote? That's what we did last year. Why don't we do it this year? And for the people who have written me, I've written back, and I'll try to get something up on the website as well. But basically, we have been told that remote is not an option this year. The Commissioner of Education has told us that because the governor has rescinded the emergency orders, or not rescinded, I think they lapsed, we are not allowed to go remote. we could go and say, okay, Ms. Ferrigno has 17 cases in her room, her classroom can go remote for 10 days, and then they all come back. I have a letter from the Commissioner of Education that came out to all of the staff, all of the superintendents, I think it was last week, that I'll also put up there, that basically says, our goal is that kids are in school all the time. And you are not allowed to go remote, basically. The other issue is about masking and mandatory masking. And that comes down to our reopening plan and the decisions that we've made relative to that. So I just think it's important to at least separate those two. One, we do have some degree of discretion. The other one, at this particular juncture, we don't. If the, if families or the community wants to call the governor, wants to call the commissioner, that's individuals' choices. The other items that, and I believe you mentioned this, Lisa, we had a discussion yesterday about the plexiglass, right? We used to have plexiglass up in the lunchrooms and things like that, and Cassie especially agreed that we had been told this summer not to have those by Dr. Chan, the state epidemiologist, because they felt that the damage that it did to the kids was much worse than the benefit that it would provide. The same was true, so what we had done in the past was at the end of each class, and probably different at the elementary, the kids would wipe down their surface and the next group would come in, et cetera, et cetera. And we were told that that's actually not overly effective because that's not how it's spread. So we're following the guidelines that we've been given, and we're following the parameters within which we're operating through our reopening plan. The one key question is the mask question, which always comes up, and that is, that has some leeway, for sure. I think the question, we are currently pretty much fully masked. The only place that hasn't had cases, and I really feel like I'm jinxing myself here, is the SAU building, but we only have, like 9 people there, so maybe that's why.
Preschool's there.
Preschool, there's one case down in preschool, but if we get to 3,
Better go fully
then we'll
masked.
go full mask, but we're not there yet. So those are the updates that I have. I'm willing to answer questions that the board has. I know the bus has been confusing to some people. So our bus drivers, it's the contention that it's not specifically overly safe to be driving with their masks on, but they have a barrier around them. And so when they're driving, they might have their mask down like this. When the kids get on the bus and off the bus, according to what I'm told, they're supposed to have their mask up, greeting the kids, that type of thing. The kids should be getting on the bus with masks. The bus company went through 250 masks in, I think it was a week, 5 days, I believe Rodney told me. And so we're trying to reach out again and purchase more cloth masks, which hopefully the kids will bring with them, that type of thing. But it is a federal law that you must wear masks on the bus. And I think that's somewhat confusing at times to kids, like, well, wait, why do I have to wear it here and not here? But it's a difference between a federal law and our own local policy. Any questions? Yes, Russ?
So, it kind of makes sense then for us to just be consistent.
You mean in terms of masks?
Yeah.
Well,
If it's about education and being less confusing for kids and less challenging, then that would be a reason.
Well, and I think that would be, better able to be discussed with like Shannon and Tom and Jennifer and Patrice, because when I'm thinking of confusing, I think for sure with our younger kids, like, why would we have to wear it here? And now we don't. But they're actually in some ways like, I don't care, you know, a mask
Yeah, if you're
is cool.
asking my opinion, I'd like to wear masks the rest of the year.
You personally?
No, my students.
Your
Well, me
students,
personally too. Everyone.
But so I think it might be different at different grade
Throw it
levels.
out there.
Like a senior should be able to figure it out.
I want masks. They can't be vaccinated.
What is our policy for ending that? Because it says 10 days from when we have less than 3.
Quite a treat. So the way that the board, or the reopening plan goes, is it says whenever there are 3 cases, then, sorry, Aaron, I'm muting you, but if you have questions, you can raise your hand perhaps when we get there. So if we have 3 cases in a building, then we wear masks for 10 days, right? So because the infection is not tidy, it can mean that we have 2 day 1, then we go 2 days, then we get 1. Whenever that 10-day spread goes below 3, the way it's currently written and enacted is we go back to mask optional. But with the offset, I know, where are you now at the middle school? End of September? Beginning of October?
No, we're at beginning of October now.
Yes.
Because of the cases we have, every time you get a new case, it goes from
Yeah.
it's pushing it back.
And so I think, how many weeks? You've been like 2 or 3 weeks now with masks?
Well, next week we'll be entering the 3rd week.
3rd week. So it sort of flows, and it will depend on how many additional cases happen at each of the school buildings over what particular time period.
I mean, the governor of New Hampshire has also said that he's expecting a surge worse this fall than last fall. So it seems like this might be one of those times to reevaluate our strategy. I think what I'd like to hear is from the school administrators about their perception, or at least recommendations about what would be doable for the kids and safer for the students and for the staff and teaching faculty.
Do you want to talk from a COVID perspective? Do you feel like you could do that? Because I don't want to, but our COVID team involves all the school levels.
Yeah. That's fine.
And they've had, they presented a recommendation, and I don't think that they've strayed necessarily from that, you know?
No,
that
they
would-
have, yeah, right.
So I think they've already said their perception of what they think would be the best to keep kids in school and to keep
Yeah.
kids safe, given our parameters.
And that did include community transmission. That did. So that was the original proposal for the board.
A matrix, which
Correct.
was county level spread
Yeah.
Yeah.
and school spread.
Which I
Correct.
think was what Lisa was addressing too.
Yeah.
I would really like to revisit that, and so I don't know, I guess I will make a motion to revisit that plan, and I don't know how either of you feel or Rhonda feel about that.
I was hoping we could have a discussion now. I was wondering, it was you, myself, and Rhonda that made that decision, so, Rhonda, do you have some thoughts?
I don't see a point in changing it personally. I get what you're saying, Russ, but it's not gonna make a difference. Stevens is using that matrix more or less, and they have more cases than we do, a lot more. This is gonna spread no matter what, nothing is gonna stop it, and until it's run its course, we just have the hand we're dealt, and I don't see that the matrix over there isn't making any difference. That's my opinion.
Linda, do you have any thoughts?
Well, I wasn't here for the whole thing,
I know.
so,
So you're not revisiting, you're visiting.
yeah, I'm visiting. I just want to make really clear what the state has said from a point of view that they are telling us we need to have 5-day in-person instruction. They do not want us doing remote. They say, if you decide, you can give remote instruction for the people that are out with COVID, but you don't have to. That's their ruling on it. I'm more apt, I mean, we have a lot of numbers here. I mean, I would feel more comfortable actually having somebody come and do some kind of presentation with the numbers. For me to just kind of think about what the conversation was, I wasn't there. I can't make a really good educated guess on that. But,
She's Cassie.
Cassie's watching, if you want me to share.
Hello, Cassie. Thank you.
I'm concerned with the numbers, and I'm concerned that the state is not backing us to be able to have an alternate plan. Personally, I think there's some validity with Rhonda says too. I don't think the masks are the end-all to it, that's for sure. We're going to still have those same problems we had last year with it.
What would Cassie like to say?
Cassie would just like to say that she does believe that masks from the beginning would have lowered the spread. That right now it's growing as a cluster compared to last year. We were able to kind of wrap around things that popped up. I would add, this is just me, not Cassie, that mask wearing in the upper grade levels, the only challenge I'm seeing is noses hanging out. They're not as, I don't know, practiced or used to it, so I feel like that's a constant thing. So even though masks are, okay, today's a mask mandatory day, it's also like reteaching it every time. So it would be helpful if the kids, I'm not going to speak for elementary school, but I think my big kids have to be reminded even to have their noses in there. And Cassie would like you to know that she is tracking the data very closely and that she plans to bring that to the board. She would like to be at the next board meeting. And she does absolutely acknowledge that masks are not the end-all be-all, but that they are an effective mitigating factor. I know one of the examples we showed our students and staff at the beginning of the year is the Swiss cheese model. So Swiss cheese, one slice on its own, there's tons of holes in it, but when you stack those slices together, those holes get covered up by other holy slices of cheese, so similar to precautions we take at school. Oh, and she's going to bring you the Swiss cheese thing so you can see that too. So
Right now?
no, next time. She said she'd be happy to. She's been so busy, I'll be very honest with you. Her phone, I go down to talk to her almost on a daily basis, and the phone doesn't stop. So Cassie, I think, wanted to have data for you available now. You have rough numbers. She was able to bring the COVID team yesterday, but she doesn't stop all day. It's constant with this person needs to go out for testing, parents who are calling in to give updates on testing. And thank you to our parents, by the way, for working hard to communicate with us. That's critical. The state doesn't call us. So we count on our parents to, give us information about how their kids are feeling, whether or not their test was positive or negative. All of that's helpful. But she has not stopped. It's crazy to be down there and the phone doesn't stop. So I can only imagine what Sue
I would
is
echo
like.
the same for Ms. Drebel. I actually told her the other day that I needed her to take care of herself because I don't know what I will do if she isn't there, because between staff and students, it is a lot of tracking, it is a lot of data, it's a lot of phone calls. And not for nothing, but I've had more, my complaints about masks are not from the students at the elementary school. The students are not complaining about wearing masks. There are a handful of students who take their masks off or give us a hard time about masks. I've only talked to 2 kids who just refuse to put them on. And I said, you have to, it's a health and safety violation. And they said, oh, and they put them on. I get more complaints from parents about masking than I do from the students.
So for the foreseeable future, we're masked. The
Yeah,
school
how-
is masked.
Right
and
now.
we're-
Because
and
our
we're-
next meeting is, It's hard. It's hard. It was hard last time when I had parents here very upset that their kids were going to have to start the year masked. It's not why I made the decision I did. It breaks my heart when I have other parents come and I have kids that are afraid to go to school. I've had, I don't know, 3-4 emails today, Brendan, that I have to respond to from parents that are on the other, that are on the masking side of it. And it is not easy. I wrote down in my book, did I make a mistake? Did we make a mistake as a board? I don't know that answer, but it warrants, I agree, Russ, a conversation. The knee-jerk part of me wants to do it now. I think Linda is right, though. I think Cassie is right. I'd like to see more, but what I want to know, at least, are our kids masked until the next meeting in October?
I don't think we can say they're masked until the next meeting.
I can tell you at the high school, unless this changes, and it probably will,
yeah.
our last day is next Wednesday. That is our last mandatory day. As of right now, please, I'm not even telling the kids this because there could be a fax sitting on the machine now that tells me of another positive case that sets that timeline again. But
And our next meeting is the 14th. So that's 3 weeks out, basically.
So I get this issue about masks not being an end-all and end-all and be-all to protect. However, we have all sorts of examples in our society where we do things as precautions, not as guarantees that it's going to prevent things. From flak jackets for military to condoms, we've got a whole gamut of things that are not guaranteed to protect us. And masks are similar in that there's no guarantee they're going to protect us. My thought, however, we do know that they provide another layer of safety. And so why wouldn't we do that? Like that's, again, thinking about that. So I wonder, because I think your point about trying to make a decision now might be challenging or maybe knee-jerk. So having more information is good. However, maybe we extend the mask wearing at least through that time to be able to make a decision or to have a presentation.
Linda?
I just have a question. Last year when the kids were coming in, they had to sanitize their hands as they walked in the buildings. Are we?
sorry, say that to me again.
Are we still doing that?
People are probably laughing at me because I stand outside every morning along with Tom and I think Lynn's out there religiously. We're squirting sanitizer on everybody. The only exception is if there's a medical reason, like if we have somebody who has a particular skin condition and they have a different plan that we work with. But yeah, every person when they come in is sanitized in the middle and high school.
And this includes they sanitize when they get on the bus. So the bus drivers asked us, why are you still sanitizing them? Because we did it when they got on the bus. And we say, well, they got on the bus, they got off the bus, who knows what they do when they're on the bus? When before they come in school, they're sanitizing. That's what they do.
That is not happening as consistently at the elementary school, and that is definitely an area we can strengthen up.
I also have a couple more questions. What are we doing with these bathrooms where the soap dispensers, I think the soap is something that is a problem that seems to be a real concern for me, that there's no soap for them to wash their hands with.
Well, there's soap. Yeah, no, there's.
Close it.
Yeah, there's soap. So we have the automated soap dispensers by the sink to wash their hands, and then as they leave the restroom, most of them actually have a sanitizer mounted to the wall.
Yeah.
So any bathrooms that are vandalized that don't have soap is closed? As
Oh,
of
yeah,
right
until
now.
we get that, yeah.
Is that correct?
That's what I have done in the high school.
Well, that's what
I-
CTE's closed too.
Yeah, CTE is closed right now because of that reason. If it gets taken down and I don't have, we have to order things in some cases to get them in time to replace them. It's been shut and locked.
I know you've had your hand raised, but since we're not taking action right now, hang on. Okay. Are we taking any action? Is there any kind of motion?
Okay, I'll make a motion to at least to extend mask wearing until October 13th. Is that our next meeting? 14th, our next meeting to make a decision.
Is there-
regardless of numbers of COVID positive cases.
Is there a second?
Can we have a discussion first?
If we second it,
If we
then have
second, there's a
before we
discussion. Yeah. I will second it,
Okay.
discussion, and then I will get to you.
I would like to have the numbers as of right now, exactly what is positive and what is not, because I think we may see, if we agree to this,
You're going to go down.
well, we're going to
potentially,
see
or
some,
less. few.
it's going to go up or down, whatever, may prove a
It's
little
going
bit
to
of
go
a
up
point.
first.
I have more.
Mitchell, what would you like to say?
I have the sheet.
I have a few things to say. I'd like to start by maybe asking.
Sorry, could you go to the podium so that, sorry,
But I don't know if this is my microphone. Is this one working?
Yeah.
I think John's got it.
Yeah, John's got it.
What I want to start with is maybe if admin could, I know you're scrambling for things right now, but while I talk about other things, if you could just tell us how many kids were absent today in each building? Because it's high. It's high. And kids that aren't getting tested, they're out for 10 days. And that's a lot of education. And it is impossible, it is nearly impossible to remedy that, to get them caught up when they come back.
That's a long list.
I want to speak for a minute about the buses, and I want to speak as a coach because as an adult, I don't ride the bus. I got on a bus to go to an away game. I was not offered hand sanitizer. And on the trip back, the bus driver said we didn't have to wear a mask. So I think things that we think are happening might not be happening. I had took a wipe to one of my desks the other day. It took 4 to clean it. One wipe of it, it was black. So I don't know that the sanitizing that we think is happening is actually happening. So when we talk about the layers of protection, we talk about that social distancing. In the classroom, I can do it. In the hallway, remind me, right? One arm, one arm. It doesn't always happen. So that mask adds that layer of protection when they're not social distancing. And they're not. It's, again, nearly impossible. I'm not going to say impossible. But it takes a lot of us constantly saying that. And that takes away from the education that we're supposed to be delivering. And as Shannon said, right now, yeah, there's a lot of reminders of pull that up, pull that up. And it was last year. By October, we weren't doing that anymore. And we could get back to teaching and not reminding of having to have their noses covered. So every time we go back to no masks, we're going to be starting again. And we're going to be taking away from education. That's all I have.
Do we have anything over there?
I have the more or less accurate numbers from one additional day. What's that?
Sue, 10 positive.
Okay. So at Richards, there's 10 positive students, 2 positive adults. Middle school.
What's the total?
Oh, just, what's that, 11?
No, 12.
12, sorry.
Yeah.
It was 9 before. 14 at the middle school, 7 at the high school. And the number of students who were absent was probably what, 25, 30?
Today, we had 55 students out of the building,
Middle, high, or just middle?
High school.
High school,
and we had 10 staff.
okay.
Middle school, I don't remember the exact number, but it was 19%.
At the elementary school, we had 82 students out of the building or dismissed.
19% should be like 30-something.
I think it was like 37. But
I sympathize with the numbers, and it's unfortunate that our state doesn't want to do something alternate. However, we can't, I get what she's saying when kids are out for 10 days, but if families don't want to test and have to quarantine, I mean, we really can't, the mask isn't going to change that. I'm not certain the mask will change the amount of absences we have right now either. But I think that one of the things that I think we could do right away too is the fact that, you know, many schools take Wednesdays to fog down. Whatever happened to all our foggers we had? What happened to wiping down? What happened about wiping out the tables at the end of the day, or having students participate at the end of the day in wiping things down? It's concerning the fact that we're hearing that we're being told a protocol for buses, and that's actually not happening. I mean, let's face it, people that are concerned are at home and they're wiping things down. They come in the house, they wash their hands. You know, you go to the stores, there's stuff to wipe things down. It's the same thing with the school, but it doesn't sound like we're taking a lot of these precautions.
Brendan, did you have?
Well, I think I would say, first of all, we are using, it's not really a fogger, it's a
UV light.
electrostatic
The blue light.
something, blue
Yeah.
light. And we use that in whatever rooms there have been cases in.
But they're everywhere. If there's a case, they're everywhere.
Well, I think
So,
Rodney comes to, you go to Rodney? Is that
So
the
what-
way it works?
The way it works is when I find out about, for example, if I find out I have a positive student in the high school, I pull that student's schedule to find out where they were through the building. And then I give Rodney room numbers, and I say, these are the rooms we needed blue lighted. The blue light thing, some people may have noticed there's the odor because it
Kill
kind of
stuff.
kills
It's
everything,
still
you know,
gross.
yeah, it's like kind of a cooked hair smell, it's not pleasant, but it goes away after a few minutes. And that is used in addition to, I know there is the daily cleaning. I will acknowledge that the spray, I've also touched desks before, and that spray that they use as a sanitizer does leave a residue. It's not fun or pleasant. And I think the spray is the thing that's used most frequently when you can't necessarily wipe something down. You at least want to kill germs, so.
And then at the elementary, just so, Sue Strebel had said that, I forget who it is, but then,
Scott, our afternoon custodian, meets with both me and Sue Strebel,
And
gets
they go
room
over.
numbers of positive cases, and then also has certain areas where he alternates every couple of days to
Yeah,
make
so
sure that we're hitting all of our
I
rooms.
just want to make sure that we're acknowledging areas that we may need to look into, but we're not conflating that with things that we're actually doing, and
Rhonda has her hand raised. Go
she
ahead,
does.
Rhonda.
Would it not make more sense to use this blue light? I'm assuming you're talking about a UV or an ozone kind of item.
It's a UV
Would it
light.
not make more sense to use that regularly all the time and just cycle through the buildings than to only call for it certain times?
I don't think you can,
I believe we are.
I mean,
not according to Brian. I don't think we use it in every building, every room, like we were last year.
I don't think we have enough of
No, we
No.
have
Yeah,
two.
we-
to be able to
we
do
don't have
every
enough
room
devices.
every day, but we do rotate.
Yeah, you
Yeah, there's-
rotate
we
it
have a-
through, but
a
not
rotation.
every room every day.
but are you rotating like regularly? I mean, because she said she calls for it and figures out where somebody went. But is it only being used then, or is it being used, okay, we're doing this area right now, we haven't even been called, but nobody called us, so we're gonna do this area?
So I know that like our nurse's office is daily, because she has people in and out her space, and she's requested that, but I wouldn't know, I call for, please make sure you hit these rooms tonight, because I know I've had an exposure there.
and at the elementary school, we have like a rotation, and in addition to that rotation, if we have positive cases, he stops by to check with us to see which rooms he needs to go to, in addition to
That's
the
what I was
rotation.
looking for, rotation.
Yeah.
I mean, to me, common areas should all be, if we have it, then we should be doing common areas. That's something that we know for a fact. kills viruses, as other things may not, so why would that not be just rotated through all common areas all the time?
Ed might have an answer.
Yes, I'm communicating with Rodney here. So we clean all surfaces every night in all the classrooms. And then the UV machine goes, it's in a rotation, in about 10 classrooms each night is what we've got time to do. In each building.
Oh, far more than 10.
Yeah, but like every 3 days? like
Well, there
30
are
or
24 at the elementary.
Yeah.
There's more here.
There's more here.
Well, if you do 10, then at the elementary, it's every 2.5 days a classroom is done.
And is that 10 per building or per school?
10 per school, per building, I don't know.
Per building, yeah.
Yeah, because we only got 2 machines, so.
So how many days would it take to get one rotation through this building?
It would depend on how many rooms you had, right?
Yeah.
So assuming that if you had 50 rooms, it would be once a week.
Yeah, and I would say you're probably close to that.
Yeah.
I would say that's probably a good guess.
That's what,
I don't have that off the
well,
top.
they're $20,000 each, so.
They're pretty pricey. 50 cents.
Well, first of all, I want to recognize and acknowledge the custodial staff. Because, they closed the door across the hall from me, put the red sign out so that nobody goes in, and they are working really hard to keep it clean. I'm also sanitizing my desks, either I am or my wonderful para pro, Judy Ross's. We sanitize the desks every night after every time the kids eat. We're also sanitizing them, using hand sanitizer in the classroom. Clearly, I think first graders are rock stars anyway, but they are with their masks. I have not had, in 2 years now, a single first grader complain about wearing a mask. And today, it was hot and muggy in my classroom. We have extra masks so that they can change. I think Erin Jenkins was on here and left, but she messaged me earlier. She has ordered 1,500 child-sized paper masks and 105, I think, KN95 masks to donate from the Episcopal Church because she wants to help. I hear it over and over again from parents, but I'm going to say it again. The kids do not complain about wearing masks. When they're outside and they can take them off, they don't. I forget that I have it on. So you do get used to it. The only question I have about the sanitizing is, like I said, they put the red sign across the door. Our cafeteria is wide open, so I don't think you could do that because it's also a safety. You don't want anybody walking into that space. So I don't know what's happening. And Dr. Minnigan and Patrice know this, so I'm not going to bring up anything that they don't know, but I'm very concerned about lunchtime at Richards because we have double grades in the cafeteria. So last year we had 4 at a table. We now have 8 at a table. In the annex, they're sitting right next to each other. So today, because Patrice has taught me well, I did a little pilot program. And I had my students eat lunch in the classroom, and they loved it. They really enjoyed the quiet. We put up a little video of quiet music. So that's another option.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, Estrella and I were working on plans for this.
Okay, well, I think there's still a motion on the floor, and I think I do not want to flip-flop. I said this at the last meeting when we were talking about how we were going to, and it was in regards to flip-flopping that had to do with where we measured, whether that was Sullivan County or whether that was Newport. And I stand by that. But when you have 107 students absent plus 19% at the middle school and 35 positive cases, that's a problem for me. So there is a motion and a second to
maintain
masks. Thank you. I couldn't think of the word maintain masks until October 14th until our next meeting so that we can revisit it with additional numbers. Maybe Ms. Healy could be here. What was that?
Is there any chance to amend it?
Sure.
Amend the motion? Yeah.
I would be in support of it, but I want to make 100% clear that our presentation is going to include the ideas of different lunch procedures, the busing, the sanitation of the buildings. Like I don't want somebody to just come and say, oh, here are the numbers and we need to do this. I want facts.
So you said busing, lunch procedures, and cleaning?
Sanitation procedures, yep, all those things with new numbers. And I don't want the students out. I mean, the flu sometimes makes 80 kids stay out too, but
Right.
I understand it's a different circumstance, but it doesn't sound like we are doing enough right now. And I'm not convinced right now that masks are going to be the solution, because it sounds like there's a ton of things that we should be doing that could help prevent it better than masks. But I will entertain the motion of going till the 14th based on a presentation with a lot of these issues that people are raising.
Yeah, and I think, I respected the ladies and gentlemen that were here last time with their point of view. I respect your point of view. We have to listen to the whole thing, and I'm sure I have about 4 more emails. I will at the end of this meeting in my inbox, and I'll take that. But let's go ahead and vote on this motion. Oh,
Well, I
go ahead.
just want to make sure, I feel like it's important to acknowledge areas we should look at, but I don't think saying that we're not coming forward with facts is necessarily accurate, because I think we are. But what I think we have to acknowledge is that there are constraints, right? The annex space and the space for lunches at the elementary school isn't exactly expansive. And they were doing lunches from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. last year?
Past that, yeah.
Past that. That's not exactly spectacular for young kids, too. So we're fine, and I'm fine with bringing forward people to talk about these things. But I just don't want it to sound like our custodial staff isn't doing their job, because they're working their butts off. I don't want it to sound like our teachers and paras aren't doing their jobs, because we have 10 and 11 staff absent a day, and they're stepping up and covering classes and doing all of those things. So this is an incredibly challenging time, and I think the more that we can affirm things, the better than doing it otherwise. And I just, I don't want the perception to be that people aren't doing their jobs. I'll leave it at that.
I don't think that I was alluding to that, but I'm glad that he clarified that. But I don't think that there is a need for the masks outside still.
No.
I think
The
for
CDC
indoors.
says no masks are fine being off outside.
All right. All those in favor of
Did we amend it?
Oh, second.
second for the amendment? Thank you. Okay. All those in favor of extending masks
Indoors.
indoors in all schools until October 14th with a presentation to revisit it? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Sorry, Rhonda.
I'm gonna oppose, however, I believe they'll be in masks anyway. I don't think a mask is gonna stop this. This is the other variant, and that's why you're getting different numbers. That's my opinion.
Okay, thank you, Rhonda. All right. Keep them masked until the 14th. Okay. All right, thank you. Transportation.
Lighten things up.
That wasn't lively enough for you?
Drive us home, Ed.
So, Brendan, do we have that? Can you put that on the screen? What
I
I
bet I
said?
can.
The one with 3 pages?
I was not mentally prepared to do that, but I can do it immediately.
So I think, yeah, I left on the board table the report that I'm going to talk from. So what I've got on this report is, there's 3 pages. The first page is where we were prior to this year. So we've got 2 buses that are handicap buses that have wheelchair lifts. They carry between 25 and 28 passengers. We have 2 vans, 7-passenger vans, similar to what most people would have for their families. Those are to transport out of district students to like Spalding and anywhere out of district. We have 3 buses, the mini buses, the 14 passengers that we use for like activities, the sports activities. And then we've got actually 8 buses, 4 of which are used every day for transporting kids back and forth to school from home. And the other 4 are backups for those 4 buses, should any of them break down, because we would send another bus out to finish the route. But they're also there, their primary reason for those 4 buses is to be there for after-school activities. So that's when we take the full team out to another district for a game, that sort of thing. So it generally takes 1 or 2 buses after school, and that is at the same time that the other 4 buses are out bringing kids home. So that's why we need more buses than what we would typically think we would. So that's our current fleet of buses. And when we received the COVID ESSER funds, we worked out a plan where we would actually get 3 additional buses so that we could try to spread out our ability to spread kids out into more routes. So we have actually already ordered, we haven't received them yet. Everything, of course, is back ordered, so it's just taking time. But we have actually ordered a wheelchair bus that carries 30 students, and we've ordered 2 new 77-passenger buses. So page 2 is what our fleet will look like once we have those buses in the district. So we will have 3 of the handicap wheelchair buses. So right now we have only 1 driver for those 3 handicap buses. We're looking for a second one now to add so that we can have 2 of these buses on the road all the time. We're still dealing with our 2 7-passengers. We've still got our 14-passenger vans. And what we will have is 5 77-passenger buses in routes. And we'll have 4 backups with also doing the after-school activities. And then in the future, once we get past COVID and not needing to spread kids out as much, what we would plan to do is reduce 2 of the 70-passenger buses, so that we'd be back down to 4 routes and the 4 backup buses. So that's kind of a quick synopsis of what we've had, what we're planning to have once we get the new buses, and then what we'll eventually go to. I know we've talked a lot about CIP type plans. So in the last column on our last page is the replacement year for the buses once we get to that level of equipment. And so there's a projection of when the oldest buses would need to be replaced. It's a combination of age and mileage and condition. So we've got kind of a comprehensive plan. I know there's sometimes critical comments about we have too much equipment in our fleet, but we actually use all of our buses. They're there for a reason. There's overlap in routes, so you need the extra bus for a driver to jump on a different bus and go pick up for activities and that sort of thing. So there's reasons for having all of these, and we absolutely need a bus available should a bus break down, because we can't leave, 40 or 50 kids stranded out in the woods, especially in the wintertime. So
you can become stranded at other times?
No, never.
In the summer, don't worry.
Not as bad in the fall.
Fair.
And is there a timeline on when those new buses will be
We
here?
expect them about the end of November, but every time we have a delivery date for anything, not just buses, anything, lockers, whatever, it keeps getting extended. So we're hopeful for the end of November. That's what we're being told. Any questions about? And I threw it out kind of quick.
So, can you just, I'm sure I'm missing the boat.
That's all right.
You can tell me, it's fine. So on the third page, when it tells you replace in year, you have the new, I think it's a van, the daily out-of-district students. It says when purchased and then replace in year 2022, 2023.
Well, we have 3, we only have 2 now. So,
Okay.
yeah. So what I didn't tell you was we tried to buy one of we've been trying for 2 years through the Capital Reserve Fund.
Okay.
And it's been denied both years. So we haven't been able to purchase this van. It's been needed for 2 years now, this third van. We have no backup for out of district. We have to use one of the bigger buses if we have a breakdown to send one student to a out of district place. So we also tried this year to put it in another grant for special ed, and we haven't been able to get it approved with the state, given all the paperwork they want for everything. So we haven't got it approved, so we need to be looking to purchase this bus in 22, 23, the next budget cycle.
Okay.
Again, and try to.
I understand.
So we've got to find a strategy that will get it passed, because we need that we need a more reliable one for the regular route, and we need a backup for those routes.
Okay. Russ,
And then the 14-passenger is 10 years old. It's going to need to be replaced soon as well.
Okay. Russ or Linda? Oh, okay. It was your meeting with Russ, so he
Right,
said you
so-
guys were talking about it before, so, very good. All right. Thank you, Ed. That's really helpful. Oh,
This is brief, but it is a compliment to the transportation group, and it also plays into this conversation about the need. The bus company and Diane have been very responsive to assist with work-based learning. And I just want you to know we are trying to ramp that up. It is a challenge when a student doesn't have a license, and she is so helpful. And so having the ability to get students where they need to be and to overcome that barrier is huge. And the FFA is taking a lot of trips for their student leadership, which we wouldn't be able to do without the support, including needing a wheelchair accessible bus. And so I just want to say thank you to anyone who's able to support this, because it means a lot to the kids to be able to get to these special events.
And I've probably been remiss in complimenting the bus staff for everything they do. It's tough, and it's changing all the time. And then you add on COVID and all of the requirements and restrictions, and they're doing their best. We have basically the same numbers of bus drivers and support people. We've got 6 drivers, 6 CBL drivers, the big bus drivers. We've got 3 that drive the smaller buses that are certified bus driver certificate. And then we've got 3 staff that ride as monitors. So we've got basically the staff we had in the past, the same numbers. There are school districts with 8 or 10, need 8 or 10 bus drivers. You know, we don't even have 8 bus drivers. So, but there are school districts that had to shut down all transportation for after-school activities. They don't have the staff to do it. So we're maintaining our staff, and we're looking for additional staff, just like other school districts. If we could get 1 or 2 more drivers, we would right now, and try to help with this, the distribution. Staffing, like in other areas of the school district, is a challenge.
all right. Let's spend some time on the budget calendar. So the only things that I changed were items highlighted in yellow, and it was really just the shift of a day here or a day there. But I want all of us to look at it. I looked over the Department of Revenue Administration calendar as well, and I want to make sure that we are all on board for this. So right now it looks like, let's see, preliminary budget delivered to school board November 2nd. Budget presentations to the board on the 4th. Public input forum December 2nd. We have it being delivered to the Budget Advisory Committee by the 17th of December. I'm sorry. And then other big days, I'm just trying to pull out the big ones here. It's a long list. It looks like the deliberative session would be February 5th, Saturday. And then voting would be March 8th. And just so the public knows, it should right now look like a traditional deliberative session. I know that was a big to-do last year, but that was just because of House Bill 1129. So this would be, as of right now, it's a traditional deliberative. So, are we all good with that? The dates sound right, look right?
Yeah, it's basically just use the same template.
Same,
so
same
it's fine.
template, just updated it for the year.
Yep.
Okay.
Thank you, Jenna.
Yep. Okay, let's talk about use of school buildings and facilities. So, Linda and Rhonda, I may lean on you for a history lesson. But we've needed to address this for a while, and it's about use of our facilities and the fees, and whether or not we want to adjust that. So I had Brendan put in our packet policy KF, which is the policy of school building use, the procedure, which has the fees outlined, and then we also have KG, which doesn't make sense, but it is online, so I wanted it pulled, and it just says that we may charge a fee to use the facility. So I wanted to have a discussion about that, so that can be updated and taken care of. Are there any restrictions on use of our facilities right now? I know we changed it last school year because of COVID, so.
No, that's an excellent question, because our reopening plan says that visitors and/or groups may be able to use our facilities depending, right? Because we don't know what things are. And so I know, for example, the PTO has reached out and we said, yes, you can use it as long as you come in masked, that type of thing. Some of the bigger questions that probably would come up for the board to consider would be things like the Montessori, the rec department's use of different things. Other than that, we've been taking it on a time-to-time basis, probably partially depending on the numbers, how many want to come in, the duration, what kind of oversight exists.
Time of day.
Yeah, is it during the day? Is it at night? I know there's certainly been some concerns raised now that we've brought preschool, now we're in year 2, being there and having not only the Montessori, but the Montessori coming in, workers coming in, all of that. And I know that's been concerning to some folks.
All right, so,
There are 2 questions then.
okay.
I'm just stating a fact that
Yep.
he's saying there's 2 questions
Yep.
about a fee, and
A
then what are we
fee, and
doing
then-
with public?
And then what do we do with public? And it's hard because it's,
It's the
what do we
time
do with
right
public
now.
now, and what do we do with public?
I think that's the question.
Yeah, I agree.
So when you're talking about KF, you're talking about kind of a long-term policy of how
Long-term,
you want to
right.
handle it. And then the other part would be going back to the reopening plan and making carve-outs if you want, or just leaving it up to the individual administrators at the.
So right now it's a food administration
Correct.
discretion is what it
Yes.
states? Okay. All right. So, well, let's deal with long-term policy first, because somehow that seems easier to do.
Are these, I know that when we talked with Brendan about this, you and I, in the policy committee, we were hoping to get some examples of what some neighboring places are doing, because these fees, I mean, I understand the fee, but it's the cleaning.
Right.
And even the cleaning present this and then future this is very different.
I agree.
But it seems like we could talk about just the
One.
base fee
Yeah.
and then like a
Than what
COVID
we're
thing
doing
is
now.
What we're doing now.
but
I
I think
agree.
this is.
I
what is the
agree.
policy.
Brendan, do you know, I have to say, I do not know if these are consistent with other areas.
I did look when
Yeah.
we talked, and I looked at a number of places, and they're all over the place, to be perfectly honest. I believe one district had like a 25-page policy and procedure specifying every single fee possible, and the whole process and someone else says, yeah, we let everyone use it. You know, every community group use it. So I do think that there's some variability, I guess I would say. In terms of our fees, from what I understand, we have not done an exceptional job or any job necessarily of collecting any of the fees.
Well, that was my next question.
Yeah. No, and I don't know, it sounds like they haven't for quite a while.
I think the only time that we've considered a fee is when we have to pay staff to be here to lock up. So if it's, so weekends tend to be, we have someone special have to come. In those cases, I think we've asked for support financially there. But for the most part, if we already have a custodian present, there's not an additional cost to us other than the cleaning and such.
Do we collect those fees though?
I would have to look back because that would be a rarity, I would say, if it happened.
Yeah. Rhonda?
Right now, we have to pay staff to sterilize everything over and over and over, and you bring in people in, why would you not collect the fees?
But we, again, I think there's this long-term policy question, which wouldn't be the sterilization over and over and over, in what we're doing now. Right now, we're really not letting anyone into our building. I mean, we let the PTO in, we let a couple of tiny groups, but in general, this is a different time.
So, but we have the policy in place already. We just don't, we
Yeah.
don't collect the fees.
No, it's outdated.
There's really no
But it used
fee.
to be
Yeah.
updated for years. And we were gonna do it, then COVID, we really didn't do it because we just blocked out anybody coming in. But it's been on the books for at least 4 years to update
Okay,
this.
so the question, are we going to remove the fees? Is that the question? Or
No, we
would you
wanna-
just collect them up front? I'm confused with where you're going with this.
We need to set a fee
We
and
need to
then
set
a
and
procedure.
Well, and whether there are parameters here, because if you read our policy, it says that
They can be
you
waived.
have to have somebody present, and it says they can be waived. And normally, I will say, normally what different districts do is they make categories, right? So if, in some of our categories in our documentation that's old, overlap, and so it's conflicting. So we'll say community groups do not pay a fee. Boy Scouts pay a fee. Well, are Boy Scouts a community group, or are they, some other organization? And so I think there's some cleanup that needs to occur and some decisions made as to who do you really want fees for and what's the purpose of fees? Or not for, from. And then what's a reasonable fee to go for?
So then, it sounds like to me, I guess if Linda and I could have some guidance on what categories, and then, we could go from there and bring it for a first and second read. I really think KG is completely redundant, and we'll just rescind that at the next meeting as a place to start, and then
I move we rescind it right now.
Is there?
You'd have to add it to the
We'd have to add it to the agenda, yeah.
We can still do that.
We can still do that when we get there, yeah.
So it seems like the first thing is, do we all agree that there should be a fee for certain conditions, and then gradiate the conditions if we agree that there should be a fee? Because if we were to agree that it's part of community use, then we don't, and no fee, then it's kind of pointless.
Just my recommendation, when you're thinking about that, I would have some categories that have the fee. And I say that because I've been in districts where presidential campaigns have come, and it's an incredible amount of work, and the fee that you've collected from some of them is like $5,000 and $6,000. So, depending on the space, you may want to have one.
Linda?
My personal feeling on this is that there's really just one category for me for acceptance is school groups and Newport groups. I think individuals, there are plenty of places individuals can go in town here and rent the building. If it's not school affiliated, I don't see why would we even do it.
So I think that's a good point, except for things like the baseball, because that's a private organization, the Cal Ripken stuff, and they use the Richards gym, or they use, so, and that's where I think it might be something, because actually, I don't know whether that's a not-for-profit or a for-profit, but it's a community-based group, but it's still serving a very finite group of people.
For the Newport community.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're saying you just are interested in having community use only?
Community group use only that benefits the school itself and the students within the school. I think that, Jenna, this is a really big, I think once we get some different ideas, it should go back to policy and try to.
Oh, yeah,
come up
there's
with
no
something
fixing it
because-
tonight. No, there's no fixing it.
But I think, I think when we need to identify the groups that are using it right now, that's fairly easy to do, or the ones that have done it, and then kind of backtrack from there instead of trying to recreate the wheel. Who are the people that are using it now, and then how can we go from there? And not open it up to others, I think. If you have, I know even CT, they have had in the past where they've had, for instance, the B school came in. To me, that's directly affiliated with the school as a benefit for the school and the kids. It's educational, I guess.
So it seems like with that, we would really need to define what is a benefit to the school. Because I
Yeah,
think about
right.
like the Montessori, is that a benefit to our school? It's a benefit to the community, maybe.
But it's a long-standing agreement we've had where they come and use our gym.
And that's fine, but it doesn't meet the first
Yeah.
requirements.
And the thing to keep in mind that's important when you're thinking about facility use is you basically create bands, right, or who can use it. And once you create that band, anyone who falls into that band can use it. And so you have to be very mindful of what your band looks like, or you might get a group against whom maybe the community doesn't even like it. But because you've opened it up, you have to let them use it.
I'd like to see that policy that he referred to that's like really nitpicky.
Yeah, I believe it's Conval. So
Yeah, I think it's not a bad idea. Again, why would we reinvent the wheel if somebody's done all the work for us?
Yes, I agree with you.
I mean, I think that you can use a template like that for any place.
I agree.
And that certainly would be a lot easier than us going back and forth, oh, well, they should be here, no, they should. I think if they have a really in-depth policy, they've probably taken a ton of time to do that, for probably very good reasons why.
Okay, well, we can pull that up for the next policy meeting. So then you and I will work on that. John, since it's not an action item, can you email me and I'll bring it? No, so email me and I will bring it to policy committee. How's that?
Brendan, could you send us Conval's policy?
Sure, let me
Yes,
make sure that's
You
the
can send it
20.
to every board member.
Yep,
Yeah, just informational.
Yeah.
Sure.
but,
And then I wonder, Jenna, with the fee, to tie that to something
Yeah.
real.
yes, I agree. Yep,
It's low, $25 for a classroom.
Well, but
I mean,
that could
you
be
know.
fine if it's, it's just, but I think maybe tying it to kind of cost of space or something, person hour cost or something like that.
I mean, I certainly have my own opinion too, like PTO and stuff. I mean, they're really doing more benefit than
Yeah,
than
well, I
not.
think
They wouldn't be
that is a
somebody.
school group.
Yeah, that wouldn't be something I would charge for
Right.
them, but,
I agree with you.
we got your back.
I mean, call a duck, right?
Right, yes, yeah, okay. All right, so go ahead.
I'm looking forward to this discussion too, because I think a school is a great hub. I just want to say that for a community, and I think schools, when you have great schools, you have great communities, and I think they benefit. They're very much in sync in that sense. And also, we have great responsibility to safeguard the school as a resource. So not just with bathrooms and sanitizer and soap, but sitting next to my colleague here, we're thinking, we have some equipment in this building that is some big money, and people would love to use the equipment, and we would love to make it available to everybody. However, if everybody's using it, wear and tear alone, even with responsible use, is a financial impact on our facility and on our resources. So,
Safety.
And safety too, of course. So I think this is a great discussion, is what I want to say.
I think that, Brendan, if I could add a request to you too, I don't think it's harmful to ask our insurance provider if there is a overage coverage that we could, for a small fee, charge them when they come in. I know they do that all the time. Umbrella or something.
Exactly, is that they get a TULIP coverage, so, I forget what it stands for, but it's umbrella coverage for an incident. Whereas if you're a PTO, there's the possibility to get it through your organization for the thing.
But I think that would cover a lot of those questions. They have those things in our policy anyway, that there should be somebody present, blah, blah, so, I mean, we can't just leave the doors open.
No. Nobody's
There's
saying
a
that.
reason we don't do that. Sometimes we can't even get in.
Not personal.
I can get in my office.
All right.
And I would invite the administration to send in responses. You might as well, Brendan, send that suggestive policy.
Yeah, I'll send you
To
a couple,
the
because
admin?
looking at Conval's, it's not that one that's super long.
But send it to the administration, so if they have a feeling,
Yeah,
that we can put that into our perspective as well
yeah.
of groups
Yes,
and
I agree.
things.
Okay, thank you. So we'll keep working on that. All right. CARES ESSER 2.
Sure. This is shorter in some ways than CARES ESSER 1, so that's the good news. But a little more confusing. That's the bad news.
I didn't know if you get more.
Okay, let's see here. So at the last meeting, I talked about CARES Act funding, which was the first group of money that came forward. The second one, which I've always called CARES ESSER 2, but is technically known as CRRSA ESSER 2, CRISA 2, is the second grant that came our way because of COVID and COVID challenges. And that entire grant amount was $1,876,231.48. And we've currently budgeted and have received conceptual approval for $1,744,125 of that. And we have about $132,106. Our total grant talks about cents. Our BA does not deal with cents. He's a whole dollar kind of guy, which is the 48 cents discrepancy. The grant started on, and when I say started, it became available January 5th, 2021, and it ends in 2023. So we have time, which is good, because the restrictions and challenges associated with this grant are fairly large. So I will tell you the projects, and then I will tell you the challenges of getting them done in a timely fashion. So the projects really fall into three areas: HVAC improvements, transportation, and then one project that I'm calling miscellaneous, for lack of a better word. HVAC is the primary expenditure of these dollars. For toll, HVAC improvements are about $263,000. For the Wheeler Gym specifically, It's an additional $260,000. Richard's School HVAC improvements are $255,000, and that's in the part of Richard's that doesn't have the most up-to-date HVAC systems.
This is the old section of the
The
building.
old section, I believe.
All the
is-
classrooms in the old building.
Yeah. And then the middle school B wing HVAC for $260,000, and the high school C wing for $257,000. The transportation, Ed already spoke to this. That's 277 passenger buses for $173,190, and one 30-passenger bus with a wheelchair lift for $90,935. And then the miscellaneous to encourage social distancing is a 500-seat bleacher to add to the athletic field for $185,000. So, those are the projects. Now, originally, I said that the grant came out in January, and we were under the impression that we could work with our vendors, get projects set up, get them approved, and get them done. So our initial thought was that we would do every single project on here this past summer. I will tell you, 0 of the projects have been done at this point. One has started, because as we got going, the state determined that there were additional hoops to jump through, compliances areas to meet. So I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, because I know it sort of changed over time, we had to have a historical impact study. We had to change from, we're installing HVAC systems. They kind of look the same and they're installed the same, but we had to have engineered plans done for every one of them, which added about $15,000 a project.
Right.
I believe we had to do the DES, or did they let us not do that one? Department of Environment?
We did not have to.
Okay, okay.
We did not have to do the DES.
Did we have to do a fire? Didn't we have?
Fire, yeah, we had to submit engineered plans to the fire marshal, which is really what held everything up. It's nothing to do with the fire marshal. The
No.
fact that we had to get engineered plans, a great example is the elementary school. We are literally putting a ventilation unit through the wall in each building, each room, each of 12 classrooms. It's a piece of equipment installed in the classroom. We have to actually get an engineer to put it on a plan before we can get that approved.
So
We're high maintenance.
when you go and you look at all the plans, and we've received conceptual approval, the only plan that we have received full approval on are the ones at Toll and at Wheeler Gym. And so currently those are moving forward, which is perfect because Wheeler Gym currently doesn't have any heat. Because the boiler died and it was also very asbestos laden, and so we've removed the boiler. And luckily, we believe that they will be installed prior to basketball, which is probably a good thing. These other ones, these are big projects, so since we missed the school, the summer, the other ones will probably be done next summer.
Correct.
The buses, I think, those were approved, right?
Approved and ordered.
And ordered, and so we're just waiting, aside from the HVAC projects, for the bleachers, right? 'Cause
Yeah,
don't you have to
we've
figure
got
out
to
if you need
engineer.
plans?
We
Yeah.
have to engineer a plan for a set of bleachers. It's just pretty silly.
So that is where things stand with CARES or CCR, SSR, whatever it is, SR2. For our next viewing pleasure, it will be SR3, which is even more convoluted. And we can't seem currently to get much ready to be spent, even though we would love to have spent it. I think we've almost spent it all. So we just got to get approval on that, but I'll bring that next time. Yes, Russ?
So with the HVAC improvements, we
Yes.
have 2 more years to spend that
Yeah.
money, so there's not a rush there. Are there any other kinds of, like, talking about toll and worrying about heat?
No, that's
Are there any other kinds of emergencies that may be coming up in this year that?
We've had emergencies or areas, and they've addressed them, but I'll let Ed speak to that.
Yeah, I mean, the rush that we put on everything had to do with COVID. We wanted to get all of these HVAC systems in place to at least get some fresh air into the schools. And that's where we failed, because we didn't have engineered ready projects to go forward. So we had to create all that.
But I would think too, though, it's important for people to know that we've put a lot of effort, for example, into the high school, middle school, so that maybe we can get through 1 year without having to close the school because there's no heat, because the boiler overboiled or whatever happened. Very technical term there.
But the original plan was
Never heard
through these funds, were to fix the heating system at the high school so there was no more of a problem, to put ventilation into the locker rooms, to fix the way the heat works in the gym, because it was one big zone with spaces that it shouldn't be tied to. We tried to do it through here. When we got into this bog down, we knew we didn't want to have the same kind of issues during the school year. So we paid for all of those smaller projects through the end of year budget. And all of that came to the school board for approval.
At the end of the year. Yeah.
All right. Thank you. All right, policy. All right, we'll start with first reads and then we'll do rescinded.
Okay. I just want to make sure I have the right one. EEAB is the EHAB.
Correct.
Okay, just want to make sure I had that right. I move to accept the first reads of EBAC, Crisis Prevention and Emergency Response Plans, ECAF, Audio and Video Surveillance on School Buses, EEA, Student Transportation Services, EEAA, Video and Audio Surveillance on School Property, EHAB, Establishment of Bus Routes, and EEAE, School Bus Safety Program.
Two more.
EEAEA, mandatory drug and alcohol testing school bus drivers and contracted carriers. EEAG, use of private vehicles for transport students.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, at this time, I'd like to entertain a motion to add this fly.
It is like,
I'm sorry.
I'm so glad it's bothering you too, because I thought it was just me.
I move to add KG.
Move to rescind KG. Is there a second to that?
Second.
Okay, so we need to have a roll call vote since it's changing.
Linda Waddenston, aye.
Russ?
Russ Medberry, aye.
Rhonda?
Rhonda Talentine, aye.
Jenna Darling, aye. Okay.
I move we rescind KG and EEAEC.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay, thank you very much. Okay, let's close it out with some communication. Really? Grief, I'm sorry. All right, who would like to go first?
You want to go first?
I can.
Go for it.
On you now.
So, it's been a fun week at the elementary school. It always is. I want to start just by thanking all of my staff and students and families just for their flexibility. Like we said, we went over our attendance records, and we've had staff out of the building, and we don't have a lot of substitutes. So it is a lot about adjusting and shifting and moving, and everyone has been so flexible. And Miss Ross came up to me one day and said, I really like second grade. I'll take that class again. And I was like, okay. And she goes, I don't know if they're out, but I'm ready. And I was like, okay. So she's a rock star. She was ready to go. Next week, the elementary school is joining the middle high school in Homecoming Spirit Week. So we sent home flyers today about a special dress-up day for each day. That will also be included in our, weekly newsletter and also on the website. I do know that Monday is Mustache Monday, so that's a good start. We even supplied the teachers with some mustaches to cut out so that we can have students ready to go. Tuesday is Picture Day, so dress-up day for Tuesday will be Dress Your Best. So we are... So there was a couple minutes where it was Newport, like wear your Newport t-shirt day, and I realized that was probably not going to be parents' favorite when you're wearing a Newport t-shirt on picture day. So we have adjusted that so it is, dress your best day, and that is the school's culture and climate committee is really working to put that together. It's one of our focus groups. They were really excited. They had seen some things about the middle high school Spirit Week, and they wanted to jump in and participate. Mr. Cherry is also working on different activities for staff and teachers to do to compete throughout the week. So really excited about that. If you show up at Richard's school in the next couple days, you're going to notice that there's like a lot of wood laying in our parking lot and along our fence line. That is the wood that has arrived for our new fence that is being built. So this will replace that kind of broken squash chain link fence between us and the auto body shop. This is going to be great. Kids will no longer be asking to jump the fence to get the ball they lost. This will be nice and tall. It'll be much safer. Also very excited about the possibilities that this opens up. Our Title I staff has been talking about putting a story walk through the playground and switching out the stories. Beautiful fence to hang this on will be glorious. And then kind of my last piece, we posted it on Facebook. Marcia Brummel, as part of our math focus group last year, started a Math Stars kind of math challenge for the year. And students will be taking a math facts assessment once a month, focusing on, different areas based on their grade level and their achievement. And each month, students scoring 90% or higher on that test will be featured on a bulletin board right in our front entryway. This month, we had 100 students that were 90% or higher, so that's awesome. They'll get harder tests, I'm sure, and, we'll go from there. We're looking forward to seeing, how many names we can get on that bulletin board. The one right next to the Math Stars will be our Shooting Stars, and that will show students making growth over the course of the year. So really excited to be getting math out there and open and celebrating learning. There you go. What's
I'm gonna skip to
Going
middle school?
youngest
I
to
feel like I
oldest.
always start, so.
I'll go. I'll follow the elementary school, right? I'm in the middle. I just want to mirror what Patrice said about the staff, with regard to the staff out and everyone filling in and doing everything they can do to help, which is just fantastic. So they're doing a wonderful job. Yes, we're doing Spirit Week as well. So Monday it's a sports jersey day. Tuesday is the twin day. Wednesday is character day. So book character, superhero, movie star, that type thing. Thursday we are doing crazy hair day. I might color mine.
It's not picture day.
And then Friday we're doing a career day. Dress as you may be in the future. So that's what we're going to be doing. And we do recognize the fact that we have many students who are not in school. So we are opening it up to them that they too can participate. And if they were to dress up and participate this and send in their picture, we'll end up including that in everything that we're doing. Because we want to make sure we're reaching out to everybody, both in school and those that are not there. So that's what we have at the moment.
Alrighty. So I have a couple things to share. First and foremost, I am very proud to inform the board and the public, if you haven't already heard, that our very own Jeff Miller has received Athletic Director of the Year. So in our Division III sports. And so we're very proud of him. We know he worked very hard last year as did many of us during COVID and the constant changing of the conditions and schedules. And unfortunately, even this year, he's still dealing with a lot of that, which you'll hear about in my homecoming update in just a second. So, round of applause and, well, give him a hurrah if you see him. He'll like that. PJ Lovely, I just want to let everyone know he and his family has done a lot for our school and really invested in our athletic fields in particular. So in addition to the time that he invests in this school, we're very honored to have received a financial gift from his family. So we will be doing a field dedication ceremony during our homecoming week. It's actually, we're going to place it with our field hockey game, which is October 2nd at 4 p.m. So we're pretty honored and excited to do our dedication at that time. I'm pleased to let everybody know that the yearbooks from last school year have arrived. However, please do not come knocking on the door this week. We're going through, I know that Terry Scott is working to go through every order that has already been placed. And some of you may have already received an email from her saying your yearbook has arrived. Once we have a handle on how many extras, if you will, we have, and there are extras, we'll give information on how you can order one yourself, purchase one, available for pickup right here in the school. So we hope to have those out for people who didn't already order next week. So we're pretty excited about that. And I have to give a huge shout out to Terry Scott, who worked hard to help put the last pieces together so that we could get this to print for publication. And thank you to Jennifer and Riley Scarron for her help with just when we were trying to figure out
how. I mean, it was a group effort.
It was definitely a group effort to rally around last year's yearbook, and we're really pleased to have that out. All right, homecoming is next week. I can't brag about your student council more strongly. They are amazing. They're working hard to include all students this year. That's their personal mission, so not just athletes, but really try to get other co-curriculars involved. So we'll see. It might take a couple years of, convincing them they should be part of this with us. But it's going to be a whole school affair, and we're looking forward to it. So next week we do have theme days, which we will post in our newsletter for people. Just of note, in place of float building, we're going to continue with our building of structures, we call it. So each class during homecoming will use their win time to build a structure that is around their particular theme. And then on Friday, they have a portion of the day where they assemble their structures out in the yard. And then, of course, we all get to go around and judge how they did. We have a rubric and everything. It's pretty competitive. So, be on the lookout for those structures out on the field. Those will be fun. Friday is also a half day dedicated to our field events. And that's when we hold a school pep rally. So we're not doing the late night kind of more open to the community event. We're trying to kind of keep our population together. So keeping that within our school day out on the field. Really looking forward to that. Another thing I'd like to note is that we will not have a bonfire this Friday, next Friday I should say. Again, just looking at transmission levels with COVID in the area and the fact that our bonfire is not just a student event. It has historically attracted people from surrounding communities, not necessarily all students. It's pretty broad and sprawling, and so that will not be happening. But I did hear that the New Hampshire Pyrotechnics Association will be having some fun at the Newport airfield. So Friday night, if you see fireworks, it's actually a closed session for their association, so you can enjoy them from afar. But Saturday, I believe it's open to the public, and if I'm wrong, I apologize in advance. But thank you. I appreciate so Saturday, open to the public, check it out, Newport Airfield, we'll have that.
Friday, open Saturday.
Yes. So I know fireworks on Fridays closed. It's just their association doing it. So you might see them if you want to check them out. But Saturday's open to the public. The other just thing I'd want to make note of, we normally have our homecoming football game. We try to get all of our teams in during homecoming week. And this, again, was one of the challenges Jeff faced early on. Unfortunately, the team we were scheduled to play with isn't able to field a team this year, and we were not able to reschedule with another team during homecoming. So the homecoming football game will actually be held on the 16th of October. And I bring that up because we're going to do the usual really awesome events like giving out the Tiger Cup, Spirit's going to be going on. We're going to do, for the first year, we're doing a golden football drop for our junior class fundraiser. So the fire department is helping us out. They're going to have a ladder up in the air, and we haven't worked out all the details, but there will be footballs dropping from the fire ladder, so it's pretty exciting. But during homecoming week, we have cross country on Tuesday at 4 p.m. We have varsity girls soccer on Thursday at 4 p.m., varsity boys soccer at 4 p.m. on Friday, and of course that field hockey game where we'll do the field dedication Saturday at 4 o'clock. Oh, I missed the student parade. So we don't have the floats, I said. I'm sorry, there's so many things. Student parade, it's just going to be athletes and any co-curriculars, just students involved in this parade, and we'll be posting the route. So if anybody wants to be out in the town on the sidelines, kind of waving, cheering them on, the kids love it. I know the town loves it, and we love having at least that connection. So we're trying where we can. And all of this will be in this week's newsletter, so you don't have to remember everything I just rattled off. Yeah, I think that's it.
That's good. Okay, you just passed those down. This is,
Oh, good. Can you highlight this one, because I forgot?
Oh, sure, yeah. That's for you, Tom. I'm just gonna, typically this,
I don't have it.
under renovation itself, so this is just, this is our newsletter. Thank you. You share, I have it. So just everyone's echoed all the exciting things going on. So this newsletter, which is only a couple of weeks into school, is already 11 pages long. And just, again, highlights the amazing things going on at the Tech Center. So the expo, this is, Shannon was asking me to highlight this, the Career and College Expo is a whole school, middle school, high school event. The Tech Center is especially excited about it because it'll be the next public session for renovation. So we really want to put it out there. The architect is coming, and we'll be able to give really a full, broad scope of what's going on with the renovation. We can provide more tours and things like that. I wanted to give you an update on renovation because things are moving at a fast pace and things are going really well, knock on wood. I wanted to share that Kathy Page and Diane Lewis, both from the state of New Hampshire CTE Bureau, visited. Ed came to speak with them, and Brendan stopped by. We had a good group to sort of conference around the funding strategy of the project. So just to give you an update, the state, Kathy Page left knowing that we're going to be looking for between $10 and $12 million from the state. We're fortunate that White Mountain Regional, who's also in the queue, and also Winnisquam Regional in the queue, are not asking for full project amounts. Also, the last budget cycle, they didn't have a CT project. Those are both great things for Newport because that money should be available to us, and Kathy's verifying whether a project of our scope is something that they will be able to add into their capital budget. So although it does have to get voted on and approved, the first step is for her to let people know what Newport's project looks like. So she is back in Concord looking into that. The next question that we're all curious about is whether $2.5 million in ESSER funds could be used toward the community's 25% portion. This would be another huge win for Newport. So if that's the case, then we will be able to, again, assist the community in getting that 25%, and that would be a big boost. So that is something that we have to verify, and so they are going back to the table on our behalf to advocate for that. The other thing I guess I'll mention is I don't think that Claremont's Tech Center is necessarily moving forward at that point. So again, freeing up more funds potentially. And I think that that kind of wraps that up. So I would say within a couple weeks, do you think we're hoping to get a little bit more verification on those pieces, which are really important to all of us, because they'll basically impact the funding strategy. And at the moment, the Right Fit project is sitting at about 15.4 million. So if the state can provide this funding, we can build the tech center around the needs of the community. Any questions on that, where we are with that? No? Okay. I'll just add one other thank you to the community. The select board invited us to present on Monday night. And during that time, they also let us know that the rec department has decided to defer a year on their renovation. And that was in support of the tech center. And I just want to thank everyone so much. Our funding is limited in scope from a time perspective. And I think that that's just amazing that they're thinking about that. And then, of course, we want to support them in getting that rec center built. So it sounds like the select board is in support of our project, and the rec center is rallying behind the project. And again, I can't thank everyone enough because the timing is sort of out of our control. So thank you for that. This speaks for itself, so you can read through that. Trying to think if there's anything else. Oh, the site assessment maybe on across Thurlow Drive. They're going to be looking at the land and assessing that.
Yeah,
So I think,
we'll go forward with that.
yeah, so that's the only other piece. They are going to look at the land where Natural Resources Building is now and just do some assessments on that, so we can determine a little bit more accurately the costs of the natural resources component of the project. Yeah. So.
Please have one more update and I have two small things.
So I don't know that mine is really an update, more of a statement. So if you have been on Facebook or anywhere near the elementary school, recently you have noticed an increase in postings about our traffic pattern and, you know, I don't even know how to explain it, just the traffic pattern and the traffic being blocked up. There have been some concerns about from residents about cars blocking their driveways. There's been, unfortunately, some altercations between people driving, being upset about people going ways. We have asked the police to be available and help us up the corner to help kind of navigate that for the adults picking up their children. But I guess my request is if you are coming to pick up your children at the elementary school, that you follow the traffic pattern that we sent you, which is that you are going up. Now I'm going to mess it up because I'm looking at it backwards.
It's upside down.
It's upside down. You're going to go up, not Beach Street, Summer Street. You go up Summer Street and around that way. Do not come directly up Beach Street and try to take a left at the church. People will be very angry with you because they have waited in line. I am going to ask all adults that pick up their children to remember that this is an elementary school. And we want to model the behaviors that we want our elementary school students to see and to have. And while I understand that it can be frustrating, we can have polite conversations with one another. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me. We will do our best. I cannot control the traffic on Winter Street, unfortunately. I am in front of the school helping the kids get into the cars there, and we are hoping that the adults picking up can help us out by following an orderly traffic pattern.
That's the fun fact she had to share.
My fun fact of the day.
Just a couple of things I'll do. So we have the board authorized Newport to be part of the school funding lawsuit. And I will, well, well, it's a process. It's a process.
You guys have been incredibly busy.
And we have been incredibly busy gathering documents, and I just really need to put it out there because the number of people we've had to go to, you know, whether it's Terry Scott or Haley Sharp or Ashley Pickering or, you know, on and on and on. We're talking lots and lots of documents, thousands of documents, people at the SAU gathering all of this. But I just want people to know that we are diligently doing it. We're turning them in tomorrow, and that is proceeding. But it is a very large lawsuit, and so my guess is it will proceed slowly. The other thing is I want to thank the New Hampshire Department of Ed does a backpack drive amongst their employees, and the lady that leads that, Diana Fenton, reached out and asked if we would like some. I reached out to the administration, and so they're giving us next Tuesday 25 backpacks that suit a range of students so that we'll have them available should they need it during the year, which is great because normally you get like the chunk at the beginning and then kids break them or whatever, so we'll have some spares for that. The only other thing is sort of an aside, so I apologize, but I'm just really curious what Tom is going to dress like when he wants to grow up on Dress for Your Future Career Day. So I am waiting for that. But, you know, overall, it's another challenging year for our staff, but they're resilient, they're doing it. And I think what you can gather from lots of different parts of today is we just ask for people's patience, forgiveness, kindness, because we're all working as hard as we can, as we know our families and community are.
Anything from the board? Linda?
I just want to make a comment because I want people to understand we've had this issue at the board here many years. This is a business meeting. Our chair runs this meeting. There is no carte blanche of the First Amendment in speaking at these meetings. I think that the nonsense really just has to stop. So I would really encourage the chair to have a statement from the attorneys that I've heard so many times, taking up valuable time on business meetings instead of focusing on nonsense. And the fact that every board member here has the right to speak on agenda items. And as you've seen, everybody has been able to put their items on the agenda to speak freely about. So it's just ridiculous. And I'm kind of tired of the nonsense, if we could just put an end to it. And focus on what we're here for, the kids, the education, our community. That's important to me.
Well, I guess my statement got a lot shorter then. I am tired of having myself and the rest of my board members being blamed for somebody else's lack of participation. I understand Linda's frustration, and I really feel like I have bent over backwards to try to make it work, but I'm done and I'm moving forward. So, and I want the staff to know that. I want families to know that. I want this board to know that. It is important to me that everybody has a voice on this board. It is very important to me. But I will not be blamed for somebody else's behavior, and neither should anybody else on this board. And navigating this the best that I can, and it has not been an easy spring or summer or early fall so far. But we're getting stuff done, and it is not going to stop us. So, and then I would also like to thank, I know there's been a lot of heavy discussions tonight around masks and COVID, and I want to thank all of our administration, all of our staff, all of the families that have come. I know the discussion isn't over, and it's probably not going to get any easier, and I understand that, but we're doing the best we can for our kids, your kids, everybody's kids. So with that, thank you, everybody. We will see you October 14th and have a great few weeks. All right. I'll take a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Hi.
Thank you.
Shannon, is there anything going on for alumni for the